kid you not, there's something about Netflix shows and their final seasons, man. It's almost like a sheen, like it's a look. A cheap look. It's really hard to pinpoint, but there's something in the coloring and the framing and the cinematography. It all just kind of looks weird and generic. At this point, so late into 2024, we've actually come to recognize this look as not a good sign. The Umbrella Academy Season 4, unfortunately, has that final Netflix season look, and oh boy, does it deliver on that disappointing promise. Listen, you've likely either seen the show and figured it out for yourself, or you've watched videos or more likely seen countless thumbnails saying the Umbrella Academy is disappointing, and they're right. However, people are not understanding why the show. However, it seems to me that people have missed truly why the season went off the rails, or rather the show went off the rails. I will be talking about spoilers at the very end of this review. I will be talking about spoilers at the very end of this review. Just a few points that bothered me, but mostly talking about the implications of the post-credit scene and how it ultimately destroys what it was trying to do. All right, so what you're hearing is absolutely true. This season makes no sense narratively or logically. Once you start to think on the arguments presented in season 4 and compare that explanation with all of the other awful things that happened in past seasons, it all starts to fall apart so quickly. For example, I guess a slight spoiler, not really, the show has a surprising lack of superpowers. And I know at the end of season 3 they lost their superpowers, but they quickly get their powers back. I think it's even in the trailer, so it's not technically a spoiler. But you see, they get their powers back, but they barely use them. The show screams, we have no money to do what we want to do, but we're doing it anyway. I think each character uses their OG power about twice and their new power about once. And that's not a lot of time. Oh, and do forget about the two Bens in the same storyline from the post-credit scene in season 3. That's nowhere to be seen this season. Netflix said, no time, no money. And that was that. So obviously bad writing has played a role in the demise of this show. But I would say that's only the outfit that the real culprit decided to wear. You see, my little filmer dudes, this season was yet another victim of agenda dumping, putting the agenda first over natural and effective storytelling. Frankly, I do not like the term woke. I think it's an immature term for immature people on all sides. It's not an intellectual word, I would argue, and I found myself using it in the past, and I've since learned the detriment of said word, and I just don't like it. Educate yourself, you embarrass less. Anyway, I prefer to use the correct term of agenda-forward narratives, i.e. Disney's Wish, Ghostbusters 2016, Strange World, and Toy Story 4, just to name a few. I find it ironic that nowadays we are being preached at by extremist liberals and SJW, social justice warriors, because the things they say should already be a thing. So when we are force-fed these things in our entertainment and media formats that should be separate of all of that, it should be a way of escape, it should not be a platform, then I feel it gets kind of preachy, because again, you're just preaching to the choir. It's like Falcon and the Winter Soldier talking about racism, but no racist would ever watch a show about a black character. It's just preachy. You're preaching to the choir, and I just find it hilariously ironic that that's what's going on in this, because it used to be the conservatives preaching to everyone else, and now I kind of feel the turntables have flipped. Is that the joke? I think that's the joke. Anyway, one form of agenda forward thinking is the idea that every single person must be saved at all costs. Absolutely nobody's allowed to die for any reason whatsoever, not while we're on the job, and it surely won't be our fault. Here's the thing, that's not realistic. That's not real. The sooner you realize that, the better. People die. It's a natural occurrence. And it's not some type of bullshit where people die every few seconds in some part of the world. No, stop it. Plain and simple, people die. it happens. Once again, the sooner you realize that, the sooner, I sound like a sociopath suddenly. Mostly joking. It's literally the trolley problem all over again. What is the trolley problem? I guarantee you've heard a variation of this before, or this exact thing before, but according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the trolley problem is a thought experiment in ethics about a fictional scenario in which an onlooker has the choice to save 5 people in danger of being hit by the trolley by diverting the trolley to just kill 1 person. What the heck does that mean? Basically, you're driving a trolley car, those old-timey looking buses with open windows in San Francisco that you see in movies. You're on this trolley and you're headed toward 2 paths. Path A has 1 elderly person and path B has 5 young kids. You're gonna have to go down one of the 2 paths because it's a pre-made track, so you can't snap it, you can't crash to kill yourself. You have to decide one of the 2 groups gets hit. Who do you save? Well, this one might be easy for a lot of you. Hit the elderly person because they've had a full life, opposed to the 5 young kids who are fresh. They're fresh human beings, and they still have a lot of life left to live. Okay, cool. Well, that one was made easy. But how about this scenario? Path A has 1 baby on it. Path B has a mixture of ages. The ethics and morality become a little clouded and gray once you start messing with the variables, now doesn't it? What seemed like a black and white answer suddenly doesn't seem like a black and white answer anymore, now does it? This is what I think the show was trying to do since season 1. They had a little bit of it in season 1 and season 2, but season 3 and season 4 kind of fell off that rails and they didn't really focus on that discussion. And I really do think that they had the opportunity to do that within the show, especially with season 4, this final season. However, it seems that the creator and showrunner Steve Blackman had no intention of having actual good philosophical discussions and opted for cheap narrative moves that either are outdated. Some of these tropes, honestly, I have not seen these tropes since the early 2000s or late 2000s, honestly. Or these are creative choices that I've seen already done in seasons 1, 2, and 3 collectively, and what a backtrack. Throughout Umbrella Academy, 5 is concerned only for the well-being of his family. He would quite literally let the world burn over and over in order to save his family. Meanwhile, Vanya and Victor becomes concerned with saving certain people who've shown specifically him love. The rest of the family is pretty much concerned with their own desires, their own struggles. They're there to keep things interesting. However, I really do think that the main characters of this show are 5 and Vanya/Victor. And they should have been more of the leads, I feel, throughout this show. But we really didn't get that at all in season 3, barely, and in season 4. I'll go into this briefly in my spoiler section, but I do want to say that Jennifer is the worst addition to this show. On a narrative level, on a creative level, she just makes no sense. She just derails the whole point of the show. It's just not good. The discussions were right there. And they chickened 3 years of build-up for absolutely nothing. For shame. Truly, season 4 will go down in history as the season that destroyed the entire show for many people. And honestly, I've heard that a lot of people can't really go back and watch the show anymore because of that finale. And we'll talk about that ending in a little bit. But everybody got character assassinated. Take your pick. Nobody survived. Only kind of Lila, but barely. And I'm not saying that everyone died, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, like, who they were for 3 years, suddenly they were no longer their characters. All of the buildup that these characters was gone. Klaus, Victor, 5, Diego, Luther, should I keep going? I'm about to name all of the Umbrella Academy. Honestly, season 4 really felt like a very quick retread of seasons 1, 2, and 3 put together. Just really, really awful. Things happen again and again, and I just don't understand why these kids just want to yell at their father over and over when clearly this man has no real interest in any timeline to be a real father to these kids. And anytime they do speak with them in season 1, 2, and 3, it never goes well. It just doesn't make sense. I don't understand. I just don't see why Victor continues to hold such a torch to such an awful individual. I just don't care. I don't care. So stop caring. He doesn't deserve your words. I feel like Steve Blackman quickly forgot that Victor was a real first threat, kind of season 1, because he destroyed the moon. All because of his lack of ability to control his emotions. But that kind of sort of went out the window right after season 1, because honestly the source material for Vanya Victor dissipated, because after volume 1 of the Umbrella Academy, Vanya's fate is radically different. Not in the sense that she did the transition. I'm just talking about what happens at the end of volume 1. Doesn't line up with what happens at the end of season 1. But I just think there was more to Victor than just being angry with his father having been mistreated, because again, we've had these discussions already in every single season. 5's character assassination I would equate to that of Buzz Lightyear's character in Toy Story 4. Hilariously, they were both the 4th installment in their respective franchises. 3 years of glorious character building gone so fast. Klaus, I feel like, is the one that hurts the most for me, because he has gone through so much and he was literally reduced to a worse state than when we first saw him in season 1. It was unfathomable to see, and they only did that because they just needed him something to do, and I did not agree with any of his writing. It was not good. Bad. The rest of the characters, I mean, again, nobody survived the writers this season, man. Nobody. Lila, like I mentioned, barely survived. I really did enjoy her arc. I just don't like who her arc was with. The show was so insanely short, way too short for them to do everything that they wanted to do, and I didn't like any of it. Honestly, this season suffered from a noticeable cut in budget, from going from 10 episodes to just 6 episodes. That's not a very good sign in any case. And the heroes not blatantly using their powers because the budget cannot allow for it because of a giant CGI villain at the end of the show. That's where their budget went, so they couldn't really use any of the powers, and when they did, it was laughably embarrassing. And I'm sure if you've seen my videos before, you've heard me say this phrase: if you can't afford to do something right, just don't do it. The Umbrella Academy season 4, in my opinion, fully ruins the entire show once you get to the end, and it's not a hyperbole. Once you watch the end, you leave with such an awful sense of not just dissatisfaction, but just utter, full disappointment, to the point where you are mad. You are both mad and disappointed. The ending is truly one of the worst endings of this decade, and likely, probably high up there on worst endings of all TV. When that ending happened, I almost felt insulted. My time was wasted. It's not that I felt my time was wasted. My time was very much wasted. Without spoiling the show, with that ending, Steve Blackman basically said, "I've wasted your time happily." And I don't really like having my time wasted, man. My time is precious. But this season truly was a ginormous waste of time. Again, no spoilies, but that post-credit scene, so stupid. Narratively, once again, it makes no sense. None. I understand the need for a poetic touch, but the implications of that post-credit scenes double downs on the idea that everything just doesn't matter. This is a perfect time to talk about that post-credit scene, so spoilies abound. If you don't want to get spoiled, go to this time code or just use the chapter times down below and skip this section, because I'm about to talk about it. I'm about to get all of my gripes out. I'll give you a little bit of moment. Okay. First, I don't know about you, but I think, I don't know, man. Again, I'm gonna sound like a sociopath at this point, but I do think Hargreaves was fully correct for killing Ben and Jennifer when Ben opened the case and saw that Jennifer was inside. Was Hargreaves stupid to send them out on this mission? Absolutely. That's where I say the writing makes no goddamn sense. But I fully believe that Hargreaves was correct in killing Jennifer and Ben, because once Jennifer had been eliminated, everything would have been fine, I guess. The methods of which Hargreaves uses are just plain stupid. I understand the need for theatrics, man, and not wanting to get your own hands dirty, but come on, use some smarts, dude. Use some smarts. Also, Hargreaves insisting in every single timeline that he is a separate version of this Hargreaves, and this Hargreaves isn't like the other Hargreaves. It's just stupid and lazy. That Hargreaves is totally the same Hargreaves because he has the same memories. He knows exactly everything, and his intonation. He's gaslighting. Again, him, Indara, Mother Gothel, they're all having tea somewhere, just discussing gaslighting methods for their victims. Having the Umbrella Academy turn into marigold flowers is stupid. Sure, it's a sweet homage telling us that these characters will live on as marigold flowers, but wouldn't that mean that marigold, the particle, the element, still exists? I mean, they rapidly grew. They grew in just 2 seconds. So that means that the magic, energy, the particle, the element, that still exists. That means it's still in existence. That means they changed nothing. That they erased themselves for no reason. It's a double no point, because if there are 8 marigold flowers for the 8th Umbrella Academy, wouldn't that mean that there's a Durango flower out there waiting to touch tips with Marigold Ben and cause the apocalypse again? It's likely gonna happen in like one of those bouquets. Probably someone, you know, maybe Lila's kid picks a bunch of flowers, puts it in a bouquet to give it to her grandma, and then all of a sudden the apocalypse happens again. Oh, makes 0 sense. And what about the other? Wasn't there 40 women who gave birth to 40 kids with superpowers? I still need to know about those other 40 kids. And again, we'll never know about those other kids. It's not 40 kids, but 40 total, but we'll never know about those other 32 kids. So we did know about some of them from the Spiral Academy, but we'll never know about the other ones. Why? Because they erased all time. They erased themselves out of existence. So again, it just makes no sense. I hate this ending so much. It's not good. From beginning to literal end, this season makes 0 sense because it's just concerned with pandering to everyone, trying to make everyone happy. But I'm sorry, just like you can't save everyone realistically, you can't make everyone happy, Steve Blackman. You gotta let a few of the loud extremists die in order to have some weight, to have a real good product. And this Umbrella Academy season 4 was not. Let's quickly rank the seasons. All right, so it goes 1, 2, 3, and 4. I know some people like 2 more than 1, but I liked 1 more than 2. I think 1 is peak perfect Umbrella Academy, and I think 2 started a little bit. You started seeing the pandering just tiny bit, but it was phenomenal. I think season 1 and 2, you should just watch season 1 and 2, maybe season 3, and just end it with that. Oh man, seasons 1 and 2 were amazing. So yeah, season 1, season 2, then season 3, then season 4. I still like the show. I just like seasons 1 and 2. Season 3 is watchable, but it's not the greatest season out there. And season 4 is just unwatchable. Very unfortunately. Wow, what a disappointment. Season 4 gets a 5.5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. My social media links are in the description below. I will see you next time. You've just been Montified.